Alright everyone, we got a video here from 90s Nostalgia Gaming today. This is the top 20 Sega Genesis beat-em-ups apparently. I don't think we're surprised Streets of Rage 2 is on this list. Maybe we're going in reverse order today, probably a good thing because it was always going to be obvious what was number one, right? Everyone's got a memory of this game, a wonderful cast of protagonists to use, great enemies and bosses, some of the best music, not only in 16-bit but in video games. Wonderful complete experience here and one of the best games on the system, so don't even really need to stop the video and say anything else. We all know how good this game is. Oh, Hyperstone Heist. You know, a lot of people think Hyperstone Heist is kind of like a Temu version of Turtles in Time. What I don't really understand is why not do Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis? I think both systems could have handled it. With that being said, it's probably a bit of a genius ploy by Konami because you got two slightly different games. Maybe if you had a Sega and a Super Nintendo, you would probably grab both. Obviously, this game was sharing some assets, I think, from Turtles in Time. But it's a good Turtles beat 'em up, albeit the levels are a little bit longer. There's only, I think, 5 levels. They have multiple sections in them, though. I do like the boss gauntlet and the Baxter Stockman boss. I think that's really, really neat. Good challenge. Don't like it as much as Turtles in Time, but it is a pretty good game, and sometimes you just need to scratch that Turtles itch with other games, and definitely worth a play, guys. Definitely worth a play. Now we got Streets of Rage 3. I just felt like this game was kind of missing the magic compared to Streets of Rage 2. The enemies just seemed a little bit more generic, a little bit more uniform. The main characters are still pretty cool to use, and that charge-up special system now included in the game is pretty good. But the difficulty was a little bit unbalanced. It would have peaks and valleys in the difficulty spike. And also the music seemed a bit more experimental, like kind of industrially. Didn't really do anything for me. That being said, this is still a very good game, but nowhere near the league of Streets of Rage 2 for me. There are people that actually like this one more. I just don't see it. There's Shiva, he's like the first level boss in this one. What do we got next? Oh, Golden Axe. Look, let's just call a spade a spade. Like, obviously, you got Golden Axe here, and then you've also got Hyperstone Heist, right? And, like, technically you're using weapons and things like that. But it's a beat-em-up formula, okay? So even though you could technically be like, this is a hack and slash, yeah, but it's a beat-em-up, okay? It's a beat-em-up formula. Golden Axe is an all-time classic Sega arcade. It's a good time, not a long time, not the longest game you're going to play. But the brutal medieval fantasy just works perfect. You got the dragon mounts, as you can see here. And each character has, like, different strengths and weaknesses. Like, you know, she uses magic more. Gilius is a bit more, I guess, stronger, I guess, on the melee attacks. Wonderfully creative bosses in this. Death Adder is an awesome villain. Wonderful game. What do we got now? We got Battletoads and Double Dragon. You know, I've played the Super Nintendo version of this, the NES version, and the Sega Genesis version. I feel like the 16-bit versions are kind of broken gameplay-wise, just too frustrating. They all are, to be honest, but I feel like the Nintendo NES version, surprisingly, was the most fun. This really didn't do anything for me. I feel like this game was sort of like a clunky mess. I mean, even using save states, I can't even get, like, more than a few levels in. Nor did I want to by that point. It was just too frustrating. I mean, it's pretty cool mixing the Battletoads and Double Dragons together. Like, they're both popular beat-em-up characters, but now we got the first Streets of Rage. There's just something charming about this. I would argue the music in this game is just as good as what it was in Streets of Rage 2. However, being that this was the first Streets of Rage game, it's a little bit stiff and a little bit clunky. But the more I play this game now in modern times, I mean, I grew up with it, but I just feel like the clunkiness is part of its charm. Definitely going to use my boy Adam, though. I feel like he's the easiest character to use to beat this game myself personally. Especially when you get up to those Bishy twins, you need to do these jump kicks and everything in order to hit them. Axel's flying knee's just not going to cut it in this game. Well, look, there's Ultimate Warrior right there. And I like how instead of using special moves, you got the bazooka bosses that you can use to help you once a level. That's a cops, I should say, excuse me. Now we got Golden Axe 2. Yeah, look, so I feel like the backgrounds in this one look a little bit more static. and just missing a little bit of life. But with that being said, the music, I would argue, is better than what it was in the original, and all the selectable characters are still an absolute joy to use. The enemies are fun, the atmosphere is there. Despite some of its shortcomings, almost as good as Golden Axe 1, a worthy sequel. I enjoy playing this very much. Make sure you play on the normal difficulty to get the true ending, by the way. What do we got now? Splatterhouse 2. See, I'm surprised they didn't put Splatterhouse 3 in this, because Splatterhouse 3 is kind of more of the beat 'em up. You wander around the mansion and you beat enemies up, and then you go to different rooms and things like that. Kind of look at Splatterhouse 2 being a little bit more of an action game. Technically, you do need to throw a few combos to beat some of the enemies, so it's a little bit of a stretch, but maybe it does, on hindsight, just slide in to be a beat 'em up. I wouldn't consider this conventionally to be that kind of game, if that makes sense. I find this game really difficult. I mean, this was really expensive growing up because it was gory before the SRB, and, kids just wanted that, slasher material. And it's certainly presentation-wise and music-wise, it's fantastic. Gameplay was just missing a little something for me. This is one of those games that was deliberately hard so you couldn't beat it on a rental, I personally thought. I guess like riding a bike, once you get it, you get it. But I just always found getting to the end of this was just too much frustration for me. Well, what do we got now? Alien Storm. Yeah, this is a clever pick. Again, it's deceptive because you've got guns in this and stuff, right? And there are rail shooting elements to this level, as well as run and gunning sections. But the base main gameplay is actually like a beat-em-up disguised as a shooter. It's very clever because Bucky O'Hare kind of did that as well. But yeah, I would count this as a beat-em-up, or I would say at the very least it's a hybrid. Really, really cool game. Again, a little bit clunky and frustrating at times. But it just reeks and oozes personality. It's on the Genesis as well as being an arcade game. I've had a good time with this. I didn't at first, but the more I play this, the more it grows on me. As you can see there, it kind of is a beat-em-up. I'm surprised that they're using the rail shooter sections for the argument here, because this is not beat-em-up stuff, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, I love streaming this game now. It's a really, really good time. It just kind of reminds me of the Ghostbusters a little bit too, just with those rays and everything. Look at his little profile picture down there. He looked like Elvis. Dude, I don't understand why people froth over Comic Zone. I mean, there might be a cheat screen where you can give yourself additional boosts and buffs and things like that. But just on the base settings, I feel like it's frustrating, difficult, and very easy to get a game over screen within a few minutes. Just never really had a good time in this. When you play a good beat 'em up, the levels start easy, you get a rhythm, you start finding your feet, and then eventually the difficulty will just spike ever so much every additional level, right? Comic Zone is just hard from the get-go. There's just nothing about this that I enjoy, to be honest. And it's a shame, because the graphics and the concept of actually playing with inside your own comic is really neat and fresh. But in execution, it just didn't work for me, brother. So yeah, there it is. I hate not liking this game, for the record. I mean, hey, tell me if you could beat Comic Zone. I mean, I could be completely off the mark. Now we got Altered Beast. I mean, Altered Beast is not a beat-em-up game. It's an action game. Yeah, you punch and kick stuff, but generally speaking, it's one-hit deaths, two hits tops. But then even then, once you morph into different creatures, like bears and monsters and things like that, you're usually throwing things like fireballs or doing zip attacks and things like that. I mean, other people think this is a beat-em-up too. I kind of disagree. I just look at it as a straight action game. However, I do really, really enjoy Altered Beast. The game itself isn't fantastic, but nostalgia's a hell of a drug. This was bundled with the SEGA. There wasn't many people that didn't own this game. And seeing this morphing screen, whether it was at home or on a TV commercial for the first time, just absolutely iconic and a wonderful SEGA memory. I still play this on the regular. I've learned to love it over the years. I hope everyone else takes the same joy out of it too. See? Look at you shooting laser beams and doing electric attacks. Not a beat 'em up, bruz. Yeah, the port of Double Dragon on Sega Genesis, not so bad. I mean, I think this was the first port that I saw that somewhat copies the arcade version, albeit it's a little downscaled a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's serviceable. I mean, I think the arcade version's a little bit more fun to play, but this is a good port. I've certainly played worse Double Dragon games than this. Probably better than a lot of the other options you have in regards to clunkiness and flow. Don't like the music though. I think Trade West, well not Trade West, was it Ballistic that did this one? I can't remember who published the remaster, but they didn't quite get the music right, as you could hear. Well, this level sounds okay. There we go, we got a bow, but that's really interesting. Because the final boss of the first level is Jick, right? And he's the guy with the Mohawk. Maybe he's going to go further across the screen and see him afterwards. But yeah, that's not Jick, that's a Bobo. Interesting. Okay, now we got Splatterhouse 3, so they did include this one on the list. This one's definitely a little bit more of a beat-em-up, an exploration beat-em-up. Wouldn't call it a Metroidvania, but it's kind of like a maze game, actually. You're going to get from one side of the mansion to the other, and then you'll encounter a boss. And then you'll end up in a different room of the mansion. Oh, look at Red Rocket over here. Reminds me of that episode of South Park. Come on, Red Rocket. These bosses are so gross, aren't they? They're very creepy and disturbing. But yeah, this is a pretty good beat-em-up, albeit difficult. Collision detection's a bit messed up. Spider-Man vs. Venom Maximum Carnage. You know, I've not beaten this game, but I've gotten very close. It's quite difficult. I prefer to play this without being set over separation anxiety. I just feel like this game is more fun. You do have little hybrid elements to this where you can throw like webs and climb walls and things like that. But the brunt of this game is beat 'em up. And you got basically playing through a comic book style game. You have like little comic book cutscenes and things like that. It's very good. Like some of the enemies are a little bit on the generic side, but they make up for it with the bosses. You know, they're pulled from the comics. They're pretty good, well designed. Again, these 16-bit beat-em-ups sometimes suffer from, like, unfair collision detection. You never seem to hit the enemies in time, but they sure get you first try, right? But overall, this is a pretty decent beat-em-up. Very close to beating it. I hope I will eventually. Golden Axe 3 is not that great. I think this was only released in Japan. Maybe you guys got it on the Sega channel in North America. I'm not sure. I don't like this game simply for the fact that the enemies just constantly block your attacks after you get a couple levels in, and it just takes, forever and too much strategy and thought to beat enemies, and it takes the fun away, man, because when you're playing a beat 'em up, you just want to go ham sandwich on everyone, right? You don't want to have to overthink these things, and it's a shame because this game could have been a lot better than what it was. The music is fantastic. I love the music at this level. And there's a big cast of characters to use too. Some really good locations later on. Final Castle's pretty intense. But yeah, the gameplay's just not really that fun for me. The other two Golden Axe games are definitely better. Do stream this sometimes, but I have to be in the mood for it. What do we got now? Two Crude Dudes. So this is like a spiritual, I guess you could say, sequel to Bad Dudes by Data East. And you kind of like fighting in a dystopian future. As you can see, kind of somewhat looks like the end of the world. I've forgotten what the storyline is. Again, been right to the end of this game. Haven't beaten it. But that doesn't mean I don't like the game. Very comic book style. You know, you've got the whole Batman live action series wham bam kind of thing going on here. It's very neat. Lots of creative bosses. Definitely going to take some strategy and repetition to finally learn the patterns and everything. But it's a good time. I like how you can also drink cola between levels to refresh your health. It's pretty neat. But Battletoads is not a straight beat-em-up. Battletoads is an overrated game that suffers from an identity crisis. You've got beat-em-up levels, you've got platforming levels, you've got other levels where I don't even know what to describe it to be, like Turbo Tunnel and things like that. With that being said, I do think the Sega Genesis version of Battletoads myself personally is a bit more accessible than the unfair NES version. Don't want to necessarily call this a beat-em-up. I think this is one of the most overrated games of all time. I'm not saying it's bad, but I mean, you could just slap any old mascot on the cover, like a Battletoad or an Earthworm Jim or something, and kids are going to buy it, right? So this is just great marketing at the end of the day. But I mean, let me know in the chat if you like Battletoads. Yeah, screw this level. Screw this level to hell, man. What do we got now? Death and Return of Superman. Yeah, this was on Super Nintendo as well. It's okay. I mean, I like that you could use some of Superman's abilities from memory. I think you could use the laser eye, and then I think you could fly over tall buildings in a single bound and all that kind of stuff. But the crux of the game is like a beat 'em up. But the enemies, for me, are a little bit too on the generic side, uninteresting. And the levels get long, very old, very quickly. I just kind of get bored because I don't feel like there's enough different stuff to hold my interest in this game personally. With that being said, the actual gameplay itself is okay. We didn't really have the picks of the litter when it came to Super Nintendo games in the retro era. This is probably one of the better ones, to tell you the honest truth, and that's not saying a lot. The standard's not very high. You know, you can tell they tried with this, but it's just didn't really work out. Now we got Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. I mean, it has some of the same problems as Superman, like just a lot of the putty patrol and oozes and everything like that. Not a big mixture of enemies. What I really like in this game is when you do the Megazord battles. I think they're pretty intense and pretty neat. Also, the end game's really frustrating because this follows the movie. And so you're not really killing enemies, you're just defeating them, if that makes sense. So just when you're about to land the death blow, they'll fly off or whatever. Also, I feel like some of the characters in this are really unbalanced. Like, it's really important you use lunging swipe up attacks with certain enemies, and not every, towards the end, like Goldar and stuff, not all characters have that ability. So it's really important who you pick. Just something, I love the music. The music in this absolutely slaps. I feel like the music adds an extra 2 points to the game. It crunks, man. It's so good. Despite its shortcomings, I do like this game and stream it from time to time. Again, just one of those games I have to be in the mood for. See, I really like these Megazord battles. They're neat. And then you've got a great rendition of the Power Rangers theme too. And now last but certainly not least, we got Captain America and the Avengers. So this is a port of the arcade game. Certainly looks like a little bit of a downgrade graphically and presentation-wise, which is to be understood. At the time period this came out, the arcade was leaps and bounds ahead of console still. But, I mean, this looks like a respectable effort, I suppose. I mean, let me know if you played this version of Sega Genesis. I can only judge the arcade version, which is above average. It's above average. Not my favourite Marvel game, but it's okay. Anyway, this was a great video from 90s Nostalgia Gaming, or Nostalgic Gaming. Please give him a sub and give us a sub as well, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Take care, everybody.